Has the phrase, never too many whips, been your war cry, but now you're feeling overwhelmed? I totally understand, and I'm right there with you. That's why today I'm going to give you lots of tips for finishing up some of those whips so that you can cut through that overwhelm and end up with some finished objects. Hello, and welcome to Bla Bla Black Sheep, a weekly yarny podcast where I, Sarah Korth of SEK Handmade, talk all things yarny, and today we're talking about wrapping up some whips. I want to highlight a couple small businesses before we dive into our topic and share with you what I'm wearing. I am wearing my Tamsin cowl today. I love this cowl. It has such great texture. I recently got to remake this cowl with some blue sky fiber yarn. I really love how it turned out. This is their colorway Wild Time. Their colors just have such depth. They are really beautiful to work with. Today, I am wearing these fun speckly earrings. They are from Black Dog Clay. They are made of clay and are super lightweight and really easy to wear. They have lots of great lightweight earrings. Definitely go check them out. Links to all of these small businesses are in the show notes below, so you don't have to hunt them down. I've got it right there for you. All right, let's dive right into our topic. I am not a one whip person. I am always the person who is like several whips, keep them on the go. I need a variety of projects. And normally that's fine. But if you saw last week's episode, you saw my stash of project bags. And I'm one of those people who keeps adding, but it hits a point where it becomes overwhelming and I just have a need to finish some of them up. So today we're going to talk about tackling some of those whips and how to keep your motivation going so that you can clear out some of your past projects. It's a really great way to start out the year. Okay, the first place I want to point you to is last week's episode. Last week, I gave you some tips and tricks about organizing your whips, and you're probably going to want to do that first before you start these tips. But honestly, whether you take my advice from last week or you just go right into try to finishing some whips up, I think all of these tips will be really helpful. The very first thing I want you to do is frog some whips. I just did this with myself. I went through and I was really honest about what things I was still in love with and what things I had just held on to for whatever reason, guilt about not wanting to waste my work. But to be honest, some of them I just was no longer inspired by and they weren't going to bring me joy to work on them. So I can tell you, it is freeing to frog those up, put the yarn away so that you'll have it to use later on a new project that will bring you more joy. Once you've picked a few projects that you want to get done, I want you to think about what ones are you excited about finishing and what ones are you maybe dragging your feet with a little bit. My tip is to pair one of each of those together. Take one that you're really excited about finishing it up and work on it simultaneously with one that you're not as thrilled about. That way you can go back and forth, get a little work done on both, and have the joy of the project you love and the satisfaction of making progress on the one you've been dragging your feet on. My next tip is to make a goal. Some people are very goal motivated. So whether that is a really broad goal of I want to clear out all of my whips from 2 years ago, or I want to only have 5 projects going at a time, make a goal for yourself and then work towards that goal. I really encourage you that when you make this goal, write it down and then track your progress with it. Making a vague goal in your brain and then just hoping it gets accomplished is really, let's be honest, not very effective. Having that solid evidence of having written it down and making a plan to accomplish it is what's going to get you to your goal. Along with that goal could be some deadlines. I don't know about you, but I thrive on a deadline. And so if I have a deadline to get something done, I can really knock it out. But if I don't have a deadline, I can kind of put stuff off. So make yourself an artificial deadline. It does not have to be a true deadline, like I have to get it done by this point, but it also could be a true deadline. So let's say you have a project, you decide I'm gonna give give this blanket that I was working on to a good friend for their birthday. Well, now you got to get it done by their birthday. So a true deadline. But it could also be an artificial deadline, like by the end of March, I want these 3 things done. There's just something about having a solid date, a real fact, a finish line on something that helps motivate me to get things accomplished. But even when we have goals and deadlines, getting things done and getting the motivation to really knock them out can still be hard. So to combat some of that feet dragging, I want you to do a few things. First thing that you can do is reward yourself. Let's face it, we all love a little treat, and whether that is starting a new project when you finish an old project, or having a little bowl of chocolates next to you, and every 3 rows you finish, you're going to eat a little chocolate. Rewarding yourself can be a great way to make progress. As a former music teacher, one of the things I always told my students, and honestly that I still tell my brand new crochet students, is a little bit of time every day is what really makes progress. So another way that you can chip away at those projects is to tell yourself that every time you sit down to craft, the first 5-10 minutes is going to be working on that project that you just want to get done, but you aren't motivated to finish. I think you'll be really surprised to find that even 5 minutes every day can really crash through a project and wrap them up quickly. So set a little timer and knock out those whips. Another way that you can power through whips that are maybe less than thrilling is to set up a distraction. I'll be honest with you, it is very rare that I just sit in silence and crochet. A lot of times I have something else going on. So tempt yourself to work on those projects that you might not be as motivated about by setting up a distraction that is really enjoyable. Whether that's watching a favorite movie, listening to a favorite podcast, or even better, go ahead, get a friend, go to a coffee shop, sit there, the 2 of you, and chit chat and work on your project. So I mentioned earlier that writing down the goals is what gets them accomplished, but I have another tip that I have found to be the most motivating. Here's what you need to do. Tell somebody else about your goal. Now, I want to encourage you that if you're watching this in January, come join us for WIP Wrap Up. This is a great group of really kind crafters who are encouraging and motivating each other. But even if you don't join WIP Wrap Up, like it's a different time of year or whatever, go ahead, tell a friend. They don't even have to be a crafter, but tell someone in your life what you're going to get done, and saying it out there to another person really put some accountability behind finishing up those goals. I want to give you just one more quick little tip. Once you've wrapped up a bunch of your whips and you are not feeling overwhelmed anymore, I think the next goal is, how do I keep from this happening again? So my one tip for this is set some boundaries on your whips. I would never tell you to be a one whip person. I feel like that is a very specific type of personality who only likes to have one thing going at a time. I am not it. I will never do one whip at a time. However, 10 whips is a bit much even for me. So maybe pick out your 5 favorite project bags or whatever number you're comfortable with and tell yourself, I have these 5 project bags. I can fill these up with projects, but I can't start a new project until I finish one of the projects from the project bag. It is empty. Then it can house a new whip. I would love to hear your tips and ideas for finishing up whips and for containing whip mania. Be sure to comment below and share your ideas. I am certain that they will be helpful. If you found my tips helpful, I would love it if you would like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that we can see each other back here pretty much every week. Just a couple quick announcements. As I said before, WIP Wrap Up is going on right now. It is not too late to join in. We have a Facebook group, we have an Instagram chat, and a Discord chat. Links to all the things below. Join us. It's really a lot of fun, a great community, and excellent motivation for wrapping up those whips. I also wanted to let you know that tomorrow, my traditional Quinlan cowl is being released as a standalone pattern. If you would like the very best discount code, go ahead and head on over and sign up for my newsletter. That's all I've got for you today. I hope you're feeling motivated to wrap up some whips and cut through that overwhelm. You can totally do it. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I will see you back here next week, and happy crafting.